Hey everyone, this is Herbal, and for this video, we're going to talk about our first lesson under the clean architecture subtopic natin. And specifically, what we're going to cover in this video is about what is clean architecture, how it works, how does clean architecture work, and why should we use clean architecture. Yeah. Now, basically, when we say clean architecture, it's just a way of designing software systems because there are many ways in designing software, and one of that is clean architecture. Now, in clean architecture, we divide the software into layers, and each layer has its specific responsibility. And what are these responsibilities or layers rather? So these are the three main layers of in clean architecture. We have the presentation, we have the domain, and data. Now, by the way, although the arrows here are going towards the down by yung direction niya, but it's actually a two-way. No, it can be from below or from above. Yeah. And you will see that in our you'll understand this once we cover this in depth, no, in our future videos or lessons. No? So yeah, the clean architecture has three main layers: presentation, domain, and data. Now for the presentation, when we say presentation layer, it's just the codes, no, yung mga source codes natin, mga programs natin that kine-create natin under this layer are for user interface related lang. So, anything that involves with buttons, the views, the scrolling views, menus, and so on and so forth, everything that's responsible in viewing or displaying the user interface nandyan sa presentation layer. And then for the domain layer, it's everything that's business logic related or business logic. Yeah, tama. Like CRUD. If you're familiar with CRUD, create with update, delete na mga operations, data validation, and business rules. So, yan. All instructions related to that are in the domain layer. And for the data layer is in charge of the data retrieval. When you say retrieval, we get data from the database, and obviously it ipapasa niya to the layer above it, which is the domain layer. And also, it's also responsible for storing the data. Any request that involves with, you store this data from the user, dapat ma-save sa database. So the data layer is also in charge of that. So those are the three main layers and each of their specific na mga responsibilities. Now, why do we use clean architecture? Ano ba yung advantage niya? The first is enhanced collaboration. And since alam niyo na that we have three layers, the good thing about this is each layer can actually be developed by, if you have a huge team, you have marami kayong programmers in a certain software project, well, you can assign different programmers in each layer. So yun, that's possible. Next is easy testability. Now, even though each of these layers has their mga dependencies, we can actually mock, no? We can make a simulation of those dependent objects na that are objects na they need, no? Or in other words, mga dependencies na mga objects, no? We can mock them, which by the way we'll also discuss that, no? So that once we map them, we can focus on testing the programs that we are supposed to be testing. For example, kung presentation layer, it's depending on, kailangan niya ng mga domain objects. So we can map the domain objects and we just focus on testing the presentation uh, layer. Yun yung ibig kong sabihin. And this will make sense once we dive into the actual codes, no, programming. And next is easier to understand the code base. And obviously, since our software is divided into different layers, uh, we can assure that each specific code has a specific responsibility. It's rarely, you know, and it's not even advisable that isang class or module is responsible for dalawa yung main responsibilities niya. Let's say, for example, a certain program is in charge of presentation and at the same time domain. So in a clean architecture, we have to separate that. So one module should only be responsible for the presentation and the other one is for domain. Ganon. Okay? Kaya mas madaling matrace and ma-understand yung source code that you'll be making as a team or even solo. No? And next is flexibility for changes. Now, let's say for example, from in the data source or data layer, if you want to change your database implementation from relying on a MySQL, the relational database, you want to switch or swap to a NoSQL database like MongoDB or Firebase. So you can easily do that in architecture. And lastly is future expandability. So if your application will expand, more features will be added into the system. That can be managed easily. You know, kasi again, as long as you follow the three layers: presentation, domain, data layer, there will be no problems with expanding the application or the programs you'll be making. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. This is just an overview of what's to come in about the clean architecture. And that would be all for this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.